Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today we have Salvador Sanchez versus Juan Laporte. The reason I chose this fight of Sanchez's is because Laporte gave a lot of fighters trouble. And it kind of hurts me to mute this video, so I talk over because Howard Cosell is calling the fight, and I never like not listening to Howard Cosell. I think he's one of the best sports commentators ever. So we got Juan Laporte, 15 wins, 1 loss, 8 KOs. He gave everybody problems. And then we have 36 and 1 and 1 draw, 28 KOs. Salvador Sanchez. There we have the legend and his hairpiece. And we have the smoke alarm in the back. I gotta fix that soon so it doesn't keep chirping, but let's see what happens. So I watched this fight a couple of times, but maybe around last year, so I'm not too, I don't remember too much of it, but I do remember that Laporte gave Sanchez problems, and you could see that from the first bell. So it's going to take a couple rounds for this fight to settle down, actually, and then we get into the study of the fight. I was just watching Salvador Sanchez's 10th pro fight against Jose Chavez, I think. He KO'd him in the 7th round, or stopped him in the 7th round. He was only 17 years old, and that was in 1976. This fight, I forget when it was. Okay, so right away, I want to talk about some stuff about Sanchez. He did move his hands around. You can't see me do it, but I'm copying him right now. If you watch him right here, kind of danced around with his hands a little bit. And you see why Laporte gave some guys problems. He threw a really good right hand. He was pretty smart too, so he's not just a fighter. We'll see this right hand. So, okay, first jab of the fight, just measuring, seeing what's there, testing him, pops a jab out, gets away from that big right hand, and you see Laporte's glove actually bend backwards, so you can see that he's actually slapping, like he's throwing his hand at Sanchez. He's not really punching it like the punch you learn, like he's throwing it from the back of his head, and you could see how he's leading with his palm. So not your typical punch. So pretty awkward from Laporte. There we got a right hand to the body. Now Sanchez, like Arguello, he wasn't the fastest or the hardest hitter, or he wasn't any of those, but he did have a great boxing mind and he knew how to use it. And that's the same goes for Alexis Arguello. I would have loved for these guys to fight, but unfortunately did not happen. I think it would have been one of the best chess matches. I'm not sure who would have led more. Let's see here, enough talking about that. So another thing I want to say about Sanchez's left hook, let me drag this down, is he pinpointed his left hook. So what I'm talking about, he didn't just throw it to the top. He didn't just throw it and hope it landed. He landed it, or he threw it mostly to the tip of his opponent's chin. So even though it doesn't look like a hard punch, the placement of it really gave his, or really made it, see, like that. He knew how to twist someone's neck with it. He threw the right hand in the similar fashion. He threw it right on the tip of the chin. Feeling out round still. Now, Laporte being really aggressive with his counters early on. I don't recommend this for boxers in the first round to counter as hard as you can, because what that does is he's showing Sanchez what his favorite counters are. So far, he countered with a big right hand. He countered with a big left uppercut after he slipped inside of the jab, and followed by right hand. So aggressive fighters, or guys that are aggressive in nature, they can't help it but to throw their hardest punches from the first round. Now this is good if you got a guy that's not that good in front of you, but this guy is pretty good. So what it does is you're wasting energy, you're showing them your favorite punches because you're countering hard. So you're not going to counter hard with your least favorite punch unless you're really smart. So he's showing him his best punches. He's showing him his range. He's showing him his speed. You're showing your opponent everything about you in the first round, and that is not a good idea. You wanna, if you counter with fast punches, with typical punches like a jab doesn't really say too much about you. Basically what I'm saying, you don't want to overshare in the first round. There we go. Let's see what we have. So we got a right hand to the body. Big left hook miss. And you see every time that Laporte countered, Sanchez already knows that he's just going to throw that punch and lean back because he knows now that the counter's coming. And then he counters his counter, okay? So Sanchez just threw a nice shot to the body, leaning over a little bit, but still too far to get countered. Leans back, and then counters the counter, and then he gets hit with the right hand. So now he knows Laporte isn't there to play around. I can't remember the name of the fighter that Laporte fight, but he did really good against him. And he gave a lot of champions. I think he fought, against Azuma Nelson too, he gave him problems. And against someone else that I can't seem to remember. But he gave a lot of legends or top fighters problems. And you could see why. He just threw with mean intention. So you could see Sanchez kind of dancing around with his hands. He's just looking for stuff, popping a jab. Get away from that one. Counters with the hook. This is another thing, is you put yourself in. So I've talked about this when I did the study of Alexis Arguello versus Ray Mancini. How I talked about how Arguello tested his opponent in the first round or two. And this is another thing that good fighters do, is they put themselves in different positions. So here we see Sanchez kind of lean here. Now he's just starting to see what punch is going to come. Okay, we got like a right hook. That's a really awkward punch. I don't like guys that throw a hard right hook because it's really awkward to block and you can't really see it. A left hook is a lot easier to see than a right hook. I don't know if he catches him there. That was a dangerous move by Sanchez, but he knew he was going to pull back. But you'll see fighters in the first round, they'll put themselves or head position in different places before their opponent even punches at them, just to see what they're going to throw. Nice left uppercut counter from Laporte. So Laporte is biting on everything basically right now. That was a slip, I think. And you can see by what they're throwing that Sanchez isn't showing his true self to Laporte yet. See, he's mostly jabbing and feinting. He's countering with some hooks and right hands, but Laporte has shown a lot more of himself in the first round. Here we're going into second round. See, Sanchez just moving around left and right, stepping in, stepping out. All you're doing is just testing your opponent. I keep saying that over and over again, but a lot of fighters, when they step into the ring, pro or amateur, they forget and then they just get lost in the fight. Good fighters, they know how to stay calm, stay away from danger, and study their opponent in the first couple rounds. Muhammad Ali was one of the best at that. See, there's a feint. Nice right hand from Sanchez. He does a feint right here, I think. Feints the jab. Now, you got to respect when your opponent feints because you don't know if it's a real punch. The stakes are too high if you get punched with it. It's bad, so you have to respect the feint. That's why feinting works in boxing. It might not work in other sports as well as in boxing, because the threat or the consequence of the feint is that you're going to get potentially punched. So you have to respect your opponent's feints, unless you know them well, but especially early on. That's why just a feint like this, and this is so hard to teach beginners why feinting is so important. They think the only time their opponent's going to respect them is if they throw a punch, but honestly, just a little feint gets him to move out the way, and then Sanchez comes back with the right hand. Not sure. That looks like Vaseline in Sanchez's afro. He's a Mexican with the afro, so that should tell you a lot about him. That makes no sense. Okay. This is another thing I want to talk about Sanchez's defensive arsenal. Now this is a very basic move, ducking, but you'll see a lot of top fighters or pro fighters, they don't really use this move. I mean, a lot do, but it's not very, in pro fighting it's more slips. But Sanchez did a really good thing of getting under the jab. And when he got under the jab, especially if his opponent was going to commit to his jab, it opened up his opponent's entire body. And from here, he has a clear view of his opponent's body, which serves him a little bit better than just slipping to the right or just slipping on the inside. Sometimes you want to just get underneath your opponent's jab, and then you have all of this to work with, and then you potentially later on in the fight have this to work with. So this is a very good defensive move that Sanchez worked with. Here he comes back with the right hand to the head, but Laporte throws a right uppercut, and I think so they both, okay, I think Laporte won that one. I'd give that one to Laporte. That exchange. Laporte reminds me of Felix Trinidad, how he just swing, like he just wants to hurt you with those punches. But sometimes it leaves you off balance, so we'll see if that happens here. Now, in if you're in the audience, you might think this hook landed, but Sanchez has this right hand up to his ears. There goes that little dance with his hands. If you see Sanchez, he keeps banging his gloves together. I was taught not to do that because that's a tell sign, like he just did right there. But a lot of top fighters, I've been noticing, old school fighters, they keep tapping their gloves. Alexis Arguello too, he would tap his gloves like this. I know why, or I know when to do it now, but early when I started boxing, my coaches told me don't do this, or don't do any tell signs, because it tells your opponent when you're about to punch, especially if you do that before you punch. So he bangs it there again, feints the jab. See how easy it is to get a reaction out of Laporte. So all he did wasn't even really a feint. It was like a half jab, and Laporte bit on it right away. Comes back with the hook, right hand. Laporte comes back with the hook. Let's see if Sanchez. So that hook goes around his back. So in normal speed, you think Laporte is landing the bigger punches in the exchanges, but it looks like Sanchez is doing pretty well. See there again, he gets under the jab. Here he slips under, but you see how he goes under here too. Okay, not a lot of top pros, you won't see them do this. A person who did, or a fighter that did this was Julio Cesar Chavez. He would get under his opponent's punches, and he would work the body and then the head. But you see the view that he has of his opponent's body. Gets out of there. Nice hook by Laporte at the end there. I think Laporte was champion. I'm not completely sure, but he fought a lot of legends in boxing. And like I said, for the millionth time, he gave them a lot of problems. Pretty sure he had a lot of power from the way he swings those punches. Sanchez got out of there, didn't really get touched that well. So now we're going to talk about Sanchez's counters, not corners. We're not talking about soccer. His counters are a lot faster and just sharp to the target. So here we see just pop him with something. And that's something that great fighters do also, counter punches, is they pop you with something fast. They're not really there to hurt you with a big punch. Floyd Mayweather is a big example of that, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and I'll tell you guys why. Okay, this in the fight I was actually watching about Sanchez when he was 17. He threw this punch a lot. This like left uppercut type thing. Now the reason a quick counter sometimes does better than hard counters is because if you think of like when people tell you if you're swimming and a shark comes up, you just punch it in its nose. I'm not sure how real that is, but it's very sensitive, and boxers are really sensitive to punches. And you kind of just want to zap your opponent with something just to let them know, hey, I could touch you too. But it doesn't have to be hard, at least not early in the fight. Later in the fight, when your opponent is tired and worn out, your counters become harder. But if you see the difference between this counter and Laporte's counters in the first 2 rounds, it's a lot faster and he brings it back a lot quicker. He's not as committed to his counters. Nice jab. See, he's just touching him. Touch. And then get away. And the example I just gave about Sanchez's counter, you just saw how Laporte did the opposite of that and threw a hard counter back at him. There he's timing a left uppercut, it seems like. He's letting Laporte lead. Letting Laporte punch first. Blocks that hook, comes back with a left uppercut. Not sure if that landed clean. Touching him with the jab. So this is a lesson not only just we're studying Sanchez, but how to deal with an aggressive fighter. Keep your distance, touch him, be ready to move. And keep your eyes wide open. Against most aggressive fighters, you survive the first couple rounds, and then the rest of it is a lot easier. Just look at the punches that Laporte is swinging. There's absolutely no reason to swing this hard in the first 3 rounds if you haven't already made good contact with your opponent using your jab. Okay, so if you haven't landed your jab pretty good in the first, or before you throw swinging punches like that, these punches are really going to miss pretty bad, especially against a smart fighter that has his eyes open, because they're not even thinking about this jab. So he hasn't used it. Sanchez is just looking at his big power punches, which is the right hand right now. Bang, get out the way. Counters with the hook, but misses. Laporte comes back. Misses again. Let's watch that again. So a fighter like Laporte is scary to fight against, because you know he's hitting you with everything. But if you're really smart and you're calm, you could get away from those big punches. There, Laporte countered with a jab. That was a better option than what his counters previously were. See that little dance? Jabbing. Nice hook by Laporte. So swinging counter punches, they do land sometimes, especially if you engage with them. Here, Sanchez takes the left hook to the body, but turns with it. Then comes back with a left uppercut that seems to miss. And then Laporte comes back with a left hook. And then Sanchez comes back with the jab. So he got the last word in that exchange. Nice 1-2. Jab and get under. Nice right hand by Laporte. Nice right hand. So usually, or not usually, every single boxer is taught this: when someone jabs at you, you jab back at them. Don't let them out jab you or whatever. If you're a boxer, you've heard this lesson a million times. So here Laporte jabs. He knows the jab is coming back, gets down, comes back with a beautiful right hand that seemed to not land clean, so it landed with the side of his hand. Not sure how he meant to throw that punch. So it did land, but not with the knuckles, but it does cause a lot of damage when you land with that side of your hand too. He goes for another right hand right here. That was more of a forearm. And then Sanchez is trading with him. Nice, going under. Tie him up. Get off the ropes. So if I stop the film right now and ask you whose jab has worked more in this fight, and if you guess Sanchez, then you're correct. And that's because he's investing in the game plan. He's investing in his jab. He's not just going haywire and swinging like Laporte. And as I said, the swinging punches from Laporte, they do him good sometimes. If Sanchez had slow reaction time, he might have been knocked out by now. But the gamble isn't worth it early in the rounds. I'd say use your jab more and learn about your opponent. So jab, comes back with the hook, right, boom, nice right hand. Now Laporte is the one that stepped back, really nice move. So like I said in the very beginning of this fight, Laporte wasn't just about power, he was pretty smart too. So a lot of old school fighters too, even if they had power, they're still pretty smart. Like I keep saying, there's no use for these big counter punches yet. And Sanchez had a pretty decent chin, or a pretty good chin. I don't think I've seen him knocked down. There, that's a nice jab from Laporte. If he did that earlier in the... So let me pause again and tell you guys something. So if Laporte had just jabbed like this in the beginning, okay, let's go back. Like what Sanchez is doing. He feinted there. He already threw the jab. I'm not going to go back. Okay, I'm going to go back. No. There. Okay. If Laporte just did this for the first couple rounds, okay, would have Sanchez known anything about him so far? And the answer is no. If Laporte just did this, and then Sanchez might have been like, oh, this guy only has a jab, or he doesn't punch that hard, he doesn't know anything about him yet, Sanchez might have went in and tried to hurt him, and Laporte might have been able to land these big counters that he's landing. Do you see why not showing your cards right away is so important? It's because when you show your cards, you tell your opponent what you're capable of, and Sanchez knows that about Laporte so far, but Laporte doesn't know that about Sanchez so far. Nice jabs from Laporte. Snapping the head back. If he had fought like this in the first 2 rounds, the third round might have looked a little bit different. But maybe he had a different game plan, which was rush Sanchez early on, and if that doesn't work, then go back to the jab. But now Sanchez is aware what Laporte is capable of, and he's staying safe. Sorry guys, I'm talking your ears off. I ate lots of sugar, and I feel like talking. Okay, round 4. Featherweight Championship. Ooh, that was nice. Now Laporte is starting to use his jab, and later in the third round and now in the fourth round. Beautiful left uppercut. But like I said, Sanchez had a good chin. And that's another thing that makes you an all-time great, is you got to be able to take punches because you are going to get caught. Like Amir Khan, in my opinion, he could have been one of the best fighters ever because of his speed and how awkward his speed was. But because he didn't have a chin, that all goes out the window when you fight a good puncher. They just need to land that one punch. Ali had a great chin. Mayweather had a great chin. Chavez had a great chin. Every top Joe Louis, Joe Frazier, every great fighter you could think of had a good chin. It's one of the prerequisites of being a champion, is being able to take the punch, because you're going to fight different styles and you're going to fight guys that are going to test your chin. Nice, like right there. Nice right hand counter. I would love to see, whoever took that picture, I would have loved to see this frame right here. Bang. Sorry guys, I'm talking a lot. But look, he gets caught. Gets caught with the right hand. Okay. Under the left hook right away. Bang. Another guy that was really good at that was Wilfredo Benitez. You could hit him with the biggest clean punch, but you're not going to hit him with the second one, because you could catch him with the first one, but he's going to move his head on the second one, that's for sure. And that makes guys very frustrating, because usually when you hit someone clean, they stay in the same spot, then you hit them again. But not Sanchez and Benitez. I'll try to stay quiet for a little bit. Nice jab. Nice right hand counter. So Laporte might have shown his cards early in the fight, but like I said, he's still very dangerous because he's going to keep countering with big punches. Sanchez looked like he rolled a little bit off that right hand. Yeah, he already started rolling his head before that right hand got there. So even if it does land, it's not the hardest right hand you're going to take. But if maybe, I'm just giving different examples here why this type of style would work, or when to use it. If you know your opponent, if say Sanchez had low self-confidence, if once he gets hit, he kind of stops fighting. Okay, this type of style is the best for that. Okay, if you, I've seen this, I've sparred guys like this. They're very dangerous, but or very good, but when you hit them one time, they get discouraged and they stop fighting how they were before that, and then you could start enforcing yourself on them, and that's why this style comes in handy sometimes, and that's why you should be able to counter with big, fast, hard punches like Laporte is doing against a guy that you might know that he's weak-hearted, because it does discourage them, and then you could start attacking them a lot more often. But that's not the case, of course, with Sanchez. I'm just giving different examples why this type of style would work. So another prerequisite of being a boxing all-time great is having a big heart, and you're never going to get discouraged from what you get hit with. You're going to keep on your game plan. So that's the second point I've given you guys. There goes those wild counters. Pop that jab. Pop that jab. Get away from that right. You can see how Laporte kind of slowed down a little tiny bit. He's not as feisty as he was early on, but he's still dangerous. He's still going to throw those big counters. Nice right hand. Nice right hand. I made a video on this on Instagram of Laporte's right hand. Bang. Bang. And then a body shot that missed. Nice jab. Now, who's going to get more discouraged? Laporte when he lands those big punches and they don't do anything to Sanchez? Or is Sanchez going to get discouraged from getting hit with those right hands? That's another thing you weigh when you're studying a fight, is who's getting discouraged. The guy that's landing the big punch and his opponent isn't getting scared, or if the guy that's taking those big punches, is he going to keep his game plan, or is he going to kind of shy away? That's another thing you weigh when you're studying two fighters, or if you're in the ring with your opponent. That's something you want to have in the back of your head. See Sanchez keep hitting his gloves together. If you watch Arguello, he did that a lot too. I feel like it's like when they're thinking, they do that, like, okay, let me do this now. Or, I don't know, or it might have just been habit. For beginners, don't do this, please, because you don't know when or why or what you're doing. And most beginners, they hit the gloves together before they throw a punch, and it makes it a lot easier to study you if I'm fighting you. If I know after you bang your punches, after you bang your hands, a punch is coming. So don't do that if you're a beginner. But for the pros, you could use that to your advantage, because you know what you're doing. And we see Sanchez taking the leadership role in this fight. He's the one throwing force. He's the one throwing first most of the time. They're Laporte led, but usually we're seeing Sanchez be the guy that's throwing the first punch. Okay, another thing also, because this just reminded me of what my coach used to always say. So I was a guy that never threw the first punch. I was purely a counter puncher. And the reason I didn't throw the first punch was because I was, I'm just going to say it, I was scared of getting countered with a hard punch. So I was the guy that waited for you to throw the first punch, and then I would try to counter yours. But my coach always said that was wrong, because that builds confidence with the opponent, and it doesn't look good to the judges that you're not leading first. So Sanchez is doing the good thing here by leading first, but he's staying aware of those counters. So he's not overcommitting himself. Later on, I learned how to throw the first punch, and then I was able to get over that fear. Basically, the way you throw the first punch is you don't go off balance, so you're ready to block the counter, and you don't put everything into your first punch, so you can get away from the counter. Like what Sanchez is doing, he's leading, but he's staying aware. Later in the fight, you don't have to be as aware, because your opponent slows down if you're in better shape, or if you're hurting them more, and then you could kind of put more sauce on your first punches. Nice right hand right on the chin. Now, this is another thing that beginners are taught not to do, which is lean in with the jab. But like I said, when I studied Roger versus Chavez, you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses. You know you're going to be able to take that right hand, so you can lean in with that jab once you know yourself very well. He did get hit there, but he saw it coming. So you learn how to do stuff the wrong way, but if you are a beginner, do not lean in with your jab, because you're not going to have the eyes to see the counter coming, and you're going to get knocked out. So please keep your weight on the back foot when you jab as a beginner until you become good, and until you become good at seeing punches coming back at you. Nice 1-2, and then Laporte comes back with the counter. I clipped, I'll show you guys when we get to that point. I clipped something from this fight and posted it on Instagram. It was like 3 seconds long, and it got a ton of views. And there was no punches involved. I'll show you why it got so many views. Nice right hand. And I'll show you guys why it was so cool. So jab, get out the way, okay? But Laporte is going to come back with a second right hand after the jab, and he's going to catch Sanchez right there. I can't remember if this fight was 15 rounds or 12. I think it was 15, maybe. I love 15-round fights because you see the opponent break. You see someone in the fight break. There it goes. In 12-round fights now, you could see a lot of guys stealing a fight. By what I mean by stealing a fight is you can kind of stay safe for 12 rounds and you're not going to get as tired and you're not going to get caught with a big punch for 12 rounds. You could outpoint your opponent, but you don't really see anybody break. That's the case of Bivol. I didn't watch the second fight, but the first fight, Bivol versus Beterbiev, I feel like if they went 15 rounds, we would have seen one of them break and we would have seen who really is the best of the two. So I feel like they should bring 15 rounds back, but it is dangerous. But I don't know. I feel like it should come back because at a championship fight, I hate to see when a fighter steals a fight from someone. Or take, for example, Floyd Mayweather's whole career. If he went 15 rounds, I think he would have still been very good. But it would have been more challenging for him to fight pressure fighters for 15 rounds opposed to 12. So I'm a huge fan of these old school 15-rounders because you really see who comes up on top. And Alexis Arguello, he had I think I counted one time, he had 5 knockouts or stoppages after the 13th round. So he really set a game plan throughout the whole fight. So I really like seeing that. I feel like it shows you who the better fighter is, better boxer is, who has the best heart, biggest heart. But 12-rounders, you can see guys steal fights from each other. See how his eyes are wide open, Sanchez. He's looking for those counters from Laporte. Now he's getting a little bit more aggressive. So this is the 5th round, and now we see Sanchez get aggressive. Really showing aggression. Like throwing more than 2 punches at a time. It took Laporte 0 seconds to do that in the first round. This is the 6th round, and now we see Sanchez start throwing punches. So like what I was saying in the beginning, that's what I'm referring to. Not showing your cards right away. Nice right hand from Sanchez. Bang. Okay, another thing for beginners or advanced boxers might do this too. When you throw the right hand, a lot of fighters, they train in the gym and they only throw the right hand straight or in a direct angle to the opponent's head. They don't really take in consideration that the opponent's head might be here, and then you got to throw the right hand down here. Now, this is something that Sugar Ray Leonard did very well too. Old school fighters like Joe Louis, they knew how to throw a short right hand. But what I'm trying to say is, you don't like when you hit the pads, you're never gonna hit the pads with this type of punch. Okay, your coach is gonna yell at you probably if you throw a right hand like that. But when in pad work has your coach ever held his right hand here and made you throw this type of right hand? Okay, this is something that comes with high IQ. With high IQ, you see the different spots and you automatically know how to measure or recalibrate your right hand. A lot of fighters from this position, they would have thrown the right hand and it would have went over Laporte's back. It would have just went straight. Okay, so part of having a high IQ is knowing how to recalibrate your punches to the right distance and right angle. So look at Sanchez. Okay, just that little right hand from there. Bang. But Laporte comes back with his own and lands it. But a lot of great fighters, they can recalibrate punches. They don't miss. They're accurate with their punches because they know how to judge distance and judge angles and judge different height levels. Nice roll from that right hand. Nice right hand. See, he throws different types of right hands. It's not just one right hand that he throws all the time. He knows how to switch it up and when and why to switch it up. Nice right counter from Laporte. Body shot, left hook. See another right here. Short right hand is going to come up. Bang. Okay, we just saw him in the clip before throwing the right hand short but down because Laporte's head was here. But now he throws a short right hand and it's up here because Laporte's up there. So, like I said in the first time I talk about this, is you have to be able to judge distance, angles, and heights of your opponent and change up your punch in order to land it, because it's not always going to look like when you're hitting the bag and you're throwing that right hand straight to the bag. You got to recalibrate. You got to be able to match your opponent's position and find the right punch. And that's how opponents start feeling like they can't get away from your punches, because you're always landing them no matter where they are. So that's discouraging too. You start second guessing your defense if they can catch you in any spot. And this is the fine stuff that differentiates top level fighters from regular pros. Okay guys, I'm going to stop the fight right here. It's 18. Actually, I'm not. I'll do round 7 because I think this is a 15 rounder, so I'll do 7 and 7. I just don't want the videos to get too long, and then it takes too long to upload them and all of that stuff. This is a clip I posted on Instagram, so I'll let you guys watch it, and then you'll know why. Right when I saw this, I stopped the fight and clipped this video and posted it because I just knew how. Look at that again. I put some music on it too, so he danced to the beat a little bit. But look how he's looking around, moving his head, moving his hands, moving his shoulders, stepping back, get away from that jab, get under that right, pivot out. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's pretty old on my Instagram, so you'd have to scroll down to find it, but if you do, it's a great 3 or 4 seconds. Nice jab to the body. See, we talk about the right hand, how he recalibrated. See, just a short little jab. And he kind of like pulls it down after. Now this is really simple stuff. If you're watching the fight, you're like, why are you showing this so much? But I just want to show you why top level fighters are top level fighters. That next time he does this, it might have not been a slight jab, it might have been like an uppercut. But great fighters are so good at watching their opponent and just knowing what to throw. Either it comes from experience or just high IQ. You're just naturally born with being able to see these things. But I'm telling you, if you want to take your boxing game to the next level, you got to be able to recalibrate and judge well on what punch to throw next. It makes you miss a lot more punches than you would miss if you don't do that, and it makes your opponent start second guessing their defense. Because you're like, damn it, if I'm pulled back, he could hit me. If I'm inside, he could hit me. If I'm off to the side, he could hit me. Where can I be safe? And that's when you know you're not safe, and then that your opponent's just going to get you. Nice counter. You see how Sanchez kind of rolls his back, lets the punch go out on his outside of his body, and throws a right uppercut in between that combo. Bang, bang. Not sure if that left hook landed, but I think the right uppercut did more damage there than that left hook. Ooh, that was a nice counter. Catch and shoot. Did he hit himself there? Sanchez hit himself. All right. he caught that, and then he threw the right hand. See, Laporte just moved back enough, and then Sanchez hit himself with that right hand. So he didn't really calibrate that one very well. He hit himself there. So don't listen to me, guys. Whatever I was saying for the last 30 minutes has been wrong. It's joking, but reminds me of Tyson Fury's right uppercut. Nice jab. Nice right hand again. Let's see that one. See again? From here, what type of right hand would you throw? Would it be a short right hand or would it be a long right hand? Okay, but now let's change the distance and the level because Laporte went low. So even still, if keep Laporte up here, don't think that he didn't bend, he just stayed up here. Sanchez is going up here, right? You see his right hand, he's about to throw it. Slaps it down. Nice counter too. But I see what I'm talking about, recalibrate in real time. His opponent goes low, they're changing distance, and his opponent goes low, changes the direction of that right hand. You could see it here, how it's folded, and he's going to slap it down. And then he threw a straight right because his opponent wasn't down here. His opponent was up here. So he threw the right straight. It landed with his laces, I guess. A little bit dirty. Don't know if it's intentional, but it was a straight right. He didn't throw it down here because his opponent wasn't there. Under that hook counter with the right hand. You see how tight his counters are opposed to Laporte's counters early in the fight. Okay, guys, now I'm going to stop it here. So from part one, the points that we've taken out of this is how Sanchez didn't show his cards right away. He used very simple punches, jabs to the body, jabs to the head, occasional left hooks and right hand counters just to keep Laporte off of him. But he didn't really show his power, and he wasn't that fast. So he didn't show his speed, power. He didn't show his true intentions. He kept that to himself. He let Laporte show his cards. He let Laporte swing hard. He let Laporte show his best counters. And then later in the fight, we saw in the 6th and 7th round, is Sanchez began to get a little bit more aggressive because he had studied his opponent and he was able to get more aggressive. And Laporte at that point didn't know Sanchez's true combinations or his favorite punches or and stuff like that. But like I said, if Sanchez was weak-hearted or he didn't have a good chin, Laporte's punches could have did a lot more damage than they did. He could have caught Sanchez, and Sanchez would have backed off the fight and changed his game plan. But because he kept it to himself, he was able to progress in his game plan using his jabs. Laporte, in not this round, the 7th round, I think in the 5th or 6th round, he stopped being so aggressive and he jabbed a little bit more, and we saw that actually gave Sanchez some problems. And like I said, if he had done that in the 1st round, Sanchez would have had more trouble with Laporte. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. Whoa, 50 minutes. That's going to take a long time to upload. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and bye.